Whisky.de. Treffpunkt feiner Geister.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Whisky.de, dem Treffpunkt feiner Geister. Und heute sind wir in Lynchburg, Tennessee, bei der Jack Daniel's Distillerie. Das hier ist eine Statue von Jack Daniel's neben mir und es ist ein super Tag. Wir werden heute die ganze Produktion sehen und wir fangen einfach mal an mit der Water Source oder der Quelle. Und die ist besonders wichtig für den Whisky, denn wenn man kein gutes Wasser hat, wird aus dem Whisky auch kein guter Whisky. Das Wasser, das wir hier sehen, kommt aus der Cave Spring mit ca. 12 bis 13 Grad und das ist sehr wichtig für die Produktion. Denn wir sehen hier, haben wir sehr viele Schichten, die typisch für den Kalkstein aus dieser Region sind. Das Wasser ist durch den Kalkstein gefiltert und dadurch sehr niedrig an Eisengehalt. Und dadurch kann man sehr schön Whisky machen, denn wenn man Eisen im Wasser hat, wird der Whisky sehr bitter. Das schmeckt einfach nicht. Also wir haben hier sehr eisenarmes Wasser, sehr gut für die Whisky-Produktion. Es kommt genügend Wasser raus, dass man sogar die 4 Column Stills der Jack Daniel's Brennerei damit befüllen kann. Wir kommen zum Mash Bill. Jack Daniel's besteht zu 80% aus Mais. Dann haben wir noch 12% gemälzte Gerste und 8% Roggen. Alle Zutaten kommen aus Nordamerika. Hier Mais und gemälzte Gerste kommt aus den USA und der meiste Teil des Roggens kommt aus Kanada. Wir haben 12% Anteil an gemälzter Gerste. Das ist wichtig, denn wir brauchen die Enzyme von den Keimen in der Gerste, um die ganze Stärke in den anderen Produkten der ungemälzten Getreide auseinanderzubrechen, um dann Zucker zu haben, dass der Zucker dann später in Alkohol umgewandelt werden kann. Hier kommen also die Zutaten für Jack Daniel's an. Wir haben 8 Silos für den Mais, 2 Silos für die Gerste und 2 Silos für den Rye, also den Roggen. Wenn ein Truck ankommt, wird erst eine kleine Probe genommen. Nachdem die Probe geprüft wurde, geht der gesamte Inhalt über in den Besitz von Jack Daniel's und Jack Daniel's verarbeitet dann das Ganze weiter zu ihrem Whisky. So, wir sind hier bei der alkoholischen Fermentation und Jack Daniel's hat 64 Fermenters mit jeweils 40.000 Gallonen Inhalt und hier wird dann der eigene selbst am Leben gehaltene Hefestrang aus dem Labor in die Mash eingebracht und das Ganze dann fermentiert. Ist natürlich sehr heiß, in dem Raum ist es sehr heiß und geht dann als Bier in die Column Still. Wir sind im Brennraum, hier ist es extrem laut, ich hoffe man versteht mich. Das ist der ganze Dampf, der hier durchpfeift und wir haben bei Jack Daniel's mehrere Column Stills, auch verschiedene Größen und der Prozess funktioniert folgendermaßen. Wir haben hier unsere Bierleitung und das Gelbe ist dann das Bier, das dann oben in die Still eingeführt wird, oben reinkommt und von unten kommt der Dampf. Nachdem das Bier durch die Column Still durch ist, geht es noch unten in den Keller, in den Doubler und wird noch einmal ein zweites Mal destilliert und wir kommen so auf 140 Proof, was so 70% Alkohol ist. Danach geht es noch durch den Kondensator, wird gekühlt und wir bekommen hier unseren White Whisky. Nachdem wir hier den White Whisky haben, geht es natürlich noch ins Charcoal Mellowing. Ja, wir sind jetzt hier beim Prozess der Holzkohlegewinnung und die Holzkohlegewinnung ist alles bei Jack Daniel's. Sie kaufen die Stämme ein, das ist auch wieder ein Zuckerahorn, der hier zur Holzkohle verarbeitet wird und der wird bei Jack Daniel's geschnitten, dann in solche Racks aufgeschüttet, die wir hier hinten sehen. Dann mit weißem Whisky, mit Rohbrand überschüttet und angezündet. Danach fällt dann irgendwann dieser Haufen zusammen und wir bekommen diese kleinen Holzkohlestücke. Bei Jack Daniels ist es etwas spezieller. Die werden dann noch klein gemahlen zu einem feinen, ja, kein Staub, aber zu kleinen, feinen Bröckchen, um die Oberfläche zu vergrößern und dann den Whisky besser zu filtern. So, jetzt ist der Haufen angezündet worden. Das Ganze brennt jetzt hier ein paar Stunden, bis genügend Holzkohle entstanden ist. Und dann fällt der Haufen irgendwann zusammen und es wird abgelöscht und wir haben unsere Holzkohle. Und nun befinden wir uns bei der Spezialität von Jack Daniels, dem Charcoal Mellowing. Die Holzkohle ist jetzt schon sehr klein, sehr fein gemahlen worden und jetzt tropft der Whisky langsam von oben auf die Holzkohle und wir haben ungefähr 3,5 Meter Holzkohle, die sehr stark verdichtet wurde, um den Whisky dann dadurch zu filtern. Er wird gefiltert und dadurch verliert der Whisky ein paar von den schlechten Geschmäckern und wird zu einem der weichen Whiskys, eben dieser Mellow-Geschmack, den man vom Jack Daniels kennt und den man auch so liebt. In der Jack Daniels Distillerie haben wir mehrstöckige Warehouses und die verschiedenen Whiskys lagern in verschiedenen Stellen der Warehouses, wo man den verschiedenen Geschmack und die verschiedenen Profile kann man dann von den Whiskys auf die Position des Warehouses abstimmen. Die Warehouses beinhalten zwischen 7.000 und 40.000 Casks, also 40.000 Barrels, und das ist natürlich eine Menge. Und der Black Label wird natürlich aus mehreren Barrels zusammen gemischt, dieses sogenannte Blending oder Vatting. Und man probiert nicht jedes Fass, es ist unmöglich, jedes Fass zu probieren. Man kann aber durch Statistiken sagen, wenn man verschiedene Samples aus dem Warehouse genommen hat, aus verschiedenen Regionen, dann schmecken die Fässer außenrum ähnlich. Und wir haben dann einen einheitlichen Geschmack, den wir dann aus ungefähr 200 Fässern in einem Batch abfüllen können, wo dann jeder Whisky ungefähr gleich schmeckt. Also was ist ungefähr? Er schmeckt einfach wie ein Jack Daniels Whisky. Es gibt gewisse Gesetzgebungen in Amerika, wie man sein Fass zu lagern hat. Wir haben hier Jack Daniels Distillery. Erstmal wichtig, aus welcher Distillerie kommt er? Wo ist die Distillerie? Lynchburg, Tennessee. Und dann ganz wichtig noch das Datum. Wir haben 2011 ist das Fass befüllt worden. F steht für den 6. Buchstaben. Das ist dann der Monat, ist dann Juni. Und am 27. wurde das Fass befüllt. Das Befüllen des Lagerhauses ist auch eine sehr spezielle Aufgabe, denn es ist wichtig, dass die Löcher, mit denen das Fass befüllt wird oder wieder entleert wird, dass alle diese Löcher auf der Oberseite sind. Deswegen muss man die Strecke, die das Fass zurücklegt, sehr genau berechnen und da gibt es dann Tabellen für, mit denen man schauen kann, wie man mit dem Fass anfangen muss, dass dieses, die Amerikaner nennen es Bunghole, immer oben ist. Ansonsten gibt es sehr viel Leckage. Innerhalb der Fabrik haben wir noch eine kleine Abfüllstraße, und zwar die Abfüllstraße für den Jack Daniels Single Barrel Select. Die Fässer werden in diese verschiedenen Tanks eingefüllt, jedes Fass einzeln, also haben wir so eine kleine Variation im Single Barrel. Über dieses Karussell darunter wird der Whisky abgefüllt in die Flaschen. Dann geht es auf der Taktstraße etwas weiter. Und hier hinten in diesen zwei Maschinen haben wir dann das Verkorken und das frontale Label, das per maschinell aufgeklebt wird. Hier vorne ist dann die Quality Inspection. mit diesem Spiegel, wo man dann schaut, ob das Label sauber aufgeklebt ist, ob irgendwelche Sachen in der Flasche drin sind oder ob es sonstige Fehler gibt. Wenn wir dann hier noch weiter nach links schauen, haben wir dann noch die Verpackung und ganz hinten noch die Palettierung für den internationalen Versand.
Wir sitzen jetzt hier und jetzt gibt es noch ein kleines Tasting. Leider können wir das Ganze natürlich nicht auf Deutsch machen, weil die Amerikaner Englisch sprechen. Und wir werden jetzt noch einfach eher auf Englisch weitermachen. So I'm sitting here with Chris Fletcher. He is in the company for 13 years now and he is the assistant master distiller and he will walk me through the tasting and also answer me some questions.
Sure, glad to do it.
So my first question is right beforehand. Whiskey, Jack and Coke is the thing in the world. Do you
Sure.
like Coke and Jack?
It's not the way I prefer to enjoy Jack Daniels, but the great thing about our brand is it's so versatile. The flavor that we're getting ready to taste of our Black Label Old No. 7 whiskey, it's so versatile. You can mix it with something sweet like Coke if that's what you enjoy. You can mix it with something more sour. It makes great classic cocktails here in the U.S. Classic cocktails like Old Fashions and Manhattans are very popular. Or it's nice just to enjoy it just straight up like we're going to today.
Yeah.
The one thing we ask folks to do is to enjoy it responsibly.
Definitely.
But however you like to mix it is fine with us.
Yeah, okay. So, did you ever go down to Atlanta and talk to the guys of Coca-Cola to, I don't know, do everything together?
I've never done that. I've never even been down to the facility before where they make Coca-Cola. So maybe that's a new idea. Maybe I'll consider that.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so what are we having now?
Well, we're going to start kind of at the beginning of the process.
Okay.
Which, we're a Tennessee whiskey, right? We're not a bourbon whiskey. A lot of people think we're bourbon, but we're actually not. We follow every single regulation that bourbon whiskey makers follow. So we do check all those boxes. And in fact, this first glass that we're going to taste, this would actually be considered bourbon. If we put this in a brand new oak barrel, it would be bourbon whiskey. But we have an extra step that we do before we get to that brand new barrel, right? And that's what separates this bourbon type whiskey from this, in the second glass, Tennessee whiskey. So you look at that, these two glasses, if you just look at them, they're identical. Now this one has not been through any charcoal. This comes off of our still, right? Our recipe is 80% corn. We distill it to 140 proof or 70% alcohol. Clear as water. All whiskey starts clear. That would be bourbon whiskey. But we take this whiskey and we filter it through 10 feet of sugar maple charcoal that we also make from scratch here at the distillery. All right. Now you can see, obviously, the charcoal doesn't add any color, right? It doesn't even add any flavors. It actually takes away. Charcoal is a natural filter. This is how Jack Daniel himself, when he was a young man, this is how he learned how to make whiskey. He did not invent this process. This is how he was taught by his forefathers. It's our tradition, our heritage of making whiskey here in the state of Tennessee was to charcoal mellow or soften this whiskey. So it really gives us an advantage of mellowing the whiskey before it gets into that new oak barrel, right? And then that's where it'll get all of its color and a lot of its other flavors will actually come from the barrel. We'll get to that in just a second. But if we'll start, let's go ahead and just smell. Let's just lightly nose the first glass here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know the smell.
Uh-huh. A lot of people describe that as grain or corn, yeast, kind of has a beery, yeasty type aroma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Those are the flavors that the charcoal is just going to remove those out. It's like charcoal's like a filter. It's like a sponge. Let's go ahead and taste just a small amount. Put it on the tip of your tongue.
How much ABV I'm looking at?
We're only at 40 ABV. We cut this down a little bit. It's
so
not 70.
It's not like straight from the still.
It's not straight from the still. We wanted to calm it down to help our palate really pick up on the flavors.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and taste just a little bit. Just let it roll back. It will evaporate. Now,
Okay.
Again, you get a little bit of bitterness from that grain, that corn flavor.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot kind of in the back of your throat. It kind of sticks a little bit.
Mm-hmm. From my point of view, I can smell the flavors, but for me that's almost like a bit rotten fruit, like the yeast.
Yes.
So it's a bit fruity, but I don't know. It's too sharp for me.
It is a bit fruity, but
if I would enjoy this, I would rather switch to vodka.
yeah. Well, we're not in the business of making vodka, so get a little bit of water first. I advise you.
Yeah, I've definitely got the.
Especially on this
sharp
before and after, because there's such a big difference here. I want you to really get the full impact. Now, again, this is 3 days later after it goes through 10 feet of charcoal. Now it's Tennessee whiskey. Now, let's go ahead and just smell immediately on the nose. Now those fruit flavors are nice and sweet on your nose. Probably get a little apple, maybe a little banana.
Yeah, I would describe it as mellowed.
Yeah, mellowed, softer. Of course, obviously you cannot smell sweet. You taste sweet, but the aromas that you smell, you associate with sweet.
Yeah,
right?
Fruity,
yes,
and
exactly.
caramel.
You don't smell that yeasty character. You don't smell all that corn, right?
So this is also at 40% ABV?
Yes, same
Okay.
ABV. Now let's go ahead and taste. Now, a lot more flavor in the front of the palate. Evaporates, it's a lot cleaner. It doesn't cling or coat to your mouth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's like it tastes like it has less ABV, I have to say.
Sure.
So this one I would have estimated at like, I don't know, 45, 46. This one below 40, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just pleasant on the tongue.
It is, exactly. I couldn't say it better. It's pleasant on the tongue, and we've already made it very pleasant on the tongue before it's even seen a barrel. This is why Jack learned and kind of perfected this charcoal mellowing, and why we very aggressively filter it through 10 feet of this charcoal. It takes days for this to happen.
Yeah, it's something you have to do. I don't know, it costs even a lot
yes.
but it's good.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
It's worth it.
It makes Jack Daniels what it is.
I would say if Jack Daniels wouldn't be that successful if you wouldn't have that step.
Well, we'll never know. But
You'll never know.
And we're not going to find out either. So from there, we'll take this clear whiskey, and that's when we put it into our barrel. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump around just a little bit on this mat. I'm actually going to start on the
Okay,
floor.
can I interrupt you like a question before we go
Yeah,
into?
sure. Yeah.
So, you have your own cooperage. We're gonna cover that in another video. If you would like this video to see this video, click just here. And your barrels, when they used, when they added flavor to your whiskey, you ship around the world to the Scotch, the Irish, and I've seen a lot of whiskeys that said bourbon barrel matured or bourbon cask matured.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anybody saying it's a Tennessee whiskey barrel matured. Do you I don't know, do anything to tell them that it's not bourbon, because definitely that's not bourbon, it tastes different.
Right.
Did you ever sue any Scotsmen for that?
No, not that I'm aware of. No. I think there is a lot of confusion around Tennessee whiskey and bourbon and the difference, even here in the U.S. A lot of people don't understand the difference and what charcoal mellowing really does. Charcoal mellowing was around, our friends up in Kentucky that make great bourbon whiskeys. There's history of charcoal mellowing there too.
Oh, okay.
There really is. I've read several documents that refer to rectifying or things like that through a charcoal filter and things. But for whatever reason, it didn't stick in Kentucky. And so that's the only difference in our process. I don't think we would ever certainly sue someone for confusing our stuff with a bourbon barrel. I can say that a lot of our used barrels, since we only use them one time, a lot of our old barrels go to Scotland, they go to Ireland, Canada, some of them go to Mexico for tequila aging. So Our barrels are used widely on a global scale for distilled spirits.
Okay. Very nice. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want to go first, bro?
Now, I want to start with our Gentleman Jack Tennessee whiskey, which is twice charcoal mellowed. Now, we said all of our whiskey gets the charcoal when it's clear, before the barrel. Mm-hmm. Gentleman Jack, if you just look at it, you notice it has a very light amber color. That's because the second charcoal mellowing is after the barrel.
Ah, okay.
So we take the whiskey out of the barrel into a tank. We'll put it back through 3 more feet of charcoal. Right?
Okay.
Not a full 10 feet. If we went a full 10 feet, it would be almost clear again.
Okay.
Through, right? Because remember, charcoal's a filter. It pulls out. It does not add. And so in doing so, go ahead and let's just smell the Gentleman Jack.
Oh, there's a lot of vanilla going on.
A lot of vanilla. You should get that nice kind of fruity punch. A lot of those sweet notes. Very light, very fruity, soft whiskey. Because we've pulled just a little bit of the oak character back out of it. Go ahead and just taste a small amount. You get the sweetness up in the front of the palate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You should get some of those fruits. Then as it rolls back, you get caramel, vanilla, a little bit of oak, right? But not an overbearing oak at all. Very subtle oak flavor.
Yeah, no. Yeah, in the finish you got the oak. It reminds me of something. Not candy, but something sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is candy, but
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, again, obviously there's no sugar added here, right? This is a straight whiskey. There's not any added flavors or sugars. All of that color, 100% is coming out of the barrel.
So, how many years are we looking at?
You're looking at, with Gentleman Jack, at least 4 years, maybe upwards of 5. Some of our products may age up closer to 7, but it's all done based on flavor. It's not done on just an age. The important thing is what we'll do at 4 years, we'll go in and we'll start sampling barrels, and we'll taste them every few months after 4 years until it's ready to be bottled. When our tasters decide the whiskey's ready, then we'll take it out and put it into a bottle.
And what position in the warehouse are we looking at?
Generally with Gentleman Jack, because we like that kind of light, soft whiskey, we're looking from kind of the mid-level and below on Gentleman Jack, because we do want a little bit lighter, more subtle oak on that. And then obviously the second charcoal mellowing is going to pull a little bit of that out as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very light whiskey. Well, I like it.
Yeah, it's very, very nice whiskey.
I would say that is probably a good everyday drum. So when you say, okay, nice day, just let it cool out. So it's not a drum like when you have like very strong flavors that you have to be in the mood for. So this is like
sure
everyday drum, I would say.
I find people with the softness and the nice soft light character of Gentleman Jack, some people love to mix it because they say that makes it very versatile, being so soft. Some people really love just to sip on it neat like this. You can really enjoy the delicate whiskey that it is because of that second charcoal mellowing process. Okay. We'll move on. Let's just skip all the way back to the left.
Okay, good.
Let's just skip all the way to single barrel. Jack Daniel's single barrel. Now again, first I like to look at the whiskey. Now you see much richer hue. You have kind of a burnt orange, almost streaks of red that you see.
Yeah,
again, that's all natural.
A bit red.
Yeah, all natural coming from the oak, 100%. And over half of the flavor of what we're tasting in these aged whiskeys is coming from the barrel, maybe 60 or 70%.
Yeah, for me, barrel maturation is everything.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we could go for vodka.
That's why we make our
awesome.
own barrels at Jack Daniel. We're the only whiskey maker in the world. We make our own barrels. Everybody else sourcing their barrels from another company. They're paying another company to create their flavor.
Yeah, and I've seen the Sinatra Select, and I find that very cool that you have such an innovation. You have a lot of traditions. We've seen the whole plant. You have tradition. You have to do it the old-fashioned way. You can't change it, but then you just find something that you can do, and it works together with the innovation with the tradition. I find that really cool.
Absolutely. Well, you can't add anything to Tennessee whiskey. So if you want to try to be innovative and create some new flavors, you got to get creative with the process. And of course, we have every advantage in that since we do make our own barrels, right? And we do everything in house, and we control each part of the process. So we can experiment, and we've experimented for years and years. Just so happened the Sinatra whiskey, that was an experiment that worked really well. So
yeah, sure. We don't see the failed experiments, but
yeah. Sometimes we have those. So now
but you can never improve without errors.
Sure,
so,
absolutely.
But you don't throw them on the market, so
right.
Okay.
So single barrel, Jack Daniel's single barrel, only one barrel at a time, like the name says. So each barrel is its own batch. One barrel is one whole batch, smallest batch you can make.
How many bottles do I get out of one barrel?
One barrel will produce about 250 bottles.
250.
Yeah,
okay.
it depends on the evaporation. We're going to lose about 30% evaporation for single barrel because it's only aged in the top floors of our warehouse.
Okay, so we're coming out top floors. Okay.
Top floors only.
So that's where you have most temperature,
yes,
fastest maturation.
It gets much hotter in the summer up there. Heat rises. It really forces that clear whiskey to absorb into that wood further and further and pull out more color. That's why it's darker. Mm-hmm. It's going to pull out more of that barrel flavor, but it's also going to mean more angel share, more evaporation that evaporates up to the angels. Right?
Yeah, that's a pity, but you
yeah,
have to, you have to have it.
You have to have it. That's right. Let's go ahead and smell and taste single barrel. Right away on the nose, you can tell it's much richer than the Gentleman
Definitely,
Jack.
it's I don't know, heavier. I would say. You still have the vanilla and caramel.
Plenty of
definitely.
vanilla and caramel because those are flavors coming
But
from the wood.
There's something stronger.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ooh,
Big whiskey.
definitely spiciness,
Mm-hmm.
but it's around spiciness because you have the white oak.
Mm-hmm.
It's not no bitterness. It's just spiciness. Usually, I find some whiskeys with spiciness. It also comes with a bit of bitterness.
Mhm.
Here you don't find any bitterness.
All right. Well, you've still got those sweet brown notes, the
Mhm.
vanilla, the caramel,
Definitely.
coming from the oak. That's all intensified as well. So it's a very rich,
Mhm.
very robust whiskey. I love the complexity of this whiskey with that still soft, smooth Jack
Mhm.
Daniel's finish.
How many ABVs does it have? Is it a bit stronger?
This one in the U.S. it's at 47.
47?
For most of the export market, it's 45.
45.
Mhm.
And Gentleman Jack was a bit lower, right?
40.
40. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You definitely taste a bit. Comes a bit on stronger because you
Mhm.
have more
A little more alcohol. And we do that on purpose because the fun thing about single barrel whiskey, each barrel is a little bit different. So a little bit higher alcohol, you're going to retain more of those nuances from barrel to barrel.
Mhm.
So if you get a bottle of single barrel, we actually put the individual barrel number on that neck label.
Oh, okay.
So if you match, you buy one bottle, you go and you buy another bottle with the same number, it'll taste the same.
Ah, okay.
But if you find one from a different barrel, it'll be slightly different.
Can you actually quantify how much variation of flavor you have with a single barrel?
You can be very surprised with these barrels because these barrels, Mother Nature controls this. Once it gets into the barrel, we can only watch it and taste it and see how it goes.
Yeah, sure.
What we create really is this. So there is quite a bit of variation. I kind of drop it into 3 ranges. We have kind of a lighter, softer range that would kind of remind you a little more of like a traditional black label, but with a little more kick. Then we have very dark, oaky, smoky barrels. Very much on the opposite end of that spectrum. A lot of spice, a lot of that toasted oak finish. And then we have barrels, which I believe this sample falls in, kind of that medium, mid-range, balanced barrel. So you get the caramel sweetness, the vanilla sweetness that comes out, and it's balanced with that oak spice. As you said, it's kind of a very well-rounded barrel. So I break down the single barrel flavor in kind of those 3 ranges.
Yeah, I can't find any smoke in there. Yeah, I would say
I would definitely call this
bit stronger than
kind of a medium mid-range barrel. Definitely amplified of those brown sweet notes, the caramels and the vanillas. The oak is there not so much smoky, but you do get some spice in the finish that comes out.
Definitely, I feel the spice in the finish. I think I'll need some water for the next one
Yeah,
because.
absolutely. Well, this next one is old number 7, right in the middle. And the reason I go in this order, we started very light and very soft with Gentleman Jack. We've gone to the other end, much more rich and robust with single barrel. So now, old number 7 falls right in the middle, right? This is going to be our most balanced whiskey. It's why I think, it's one of the best-selling whiskeys in the world is because it's so balanced. It mixes well with anything, People can enjoy it in their own unique individual way, right? So you'll notice just on the nose, it's going to remind you a little bit more of Gentleman Jack. You get that kind of fruity nose, okay, very sweet, right? And you taste it. Again, nice sweet up front, but then in the back, you get a little more oak. Not nearly as much oak as what you got with single barrel, but a little more oak, little slight astringency on the edges of the tongue.
Develop. Oh, now it develops. Okay, now I'll get the oak. Yeah, you had to start with the vanilla again and the caramel, but I find it developing a bit slower than the other, but it comes now. Yeah. It's very. I always thought that American whiskey is strong with flavor, but I never considered that they had a great finish. But now tasting it, the finish is really long.
Absolutely, it is. And you have different finishes too. Now, the Gentleman Jack finish is shorter. You get a little bit longer finish out of the old number 7. And then the longest finish we had was single barrel.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure. Yeah.
So, now it kind of wears off, and I had to wash down the single barrel because it's just so intense.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
From my point of view, my favorite would be a single barrel. I'm more the intense person for the whiskey. Because that's just what whiskey is about, barrel maturation, and that is one example of good barrel maturation.
Sure, absolutely. Well, that's why we make the different brands, the different things, and how we use the natural maturation process in that barrel, or with Gentleman Jack, the second charcoal mellowing after the barrel. That's how we create these different flavors. All the whiskey we just tasted started just like this.
Yeah.
80% corn, right? Distilled to 140 proof, filtered through 10 feet of sugar maple charcoal.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed. Well, I've seen the whole distillery now, and I'm pretty amazed that it is a big plan, and you have to meet the global demand, and that is big. But you sized it up in a way that you still have the old traditions going. And what I like about you is that you have everything in-house. I'm not that kind of fan of outsourcing everything because, it gets out of hand and gets out of your control. So, really good company.
Thank you very much. Yeah, a lot of people, when they come to Lynchburg and they see it, they get it. It's still made the same way. It really is. If there's one thing that I could tell you, we are making whiskey the same way my grandfather made it back in the 1950s, which is the same way he learned from the Motlow family, from Jack's family themselves. So, that's one of the things we pride ourselves on. And sure, we have friends all over the world now, but we've got to make sure that the tradition, the authenticity, the flavor consistency of Jack Daniel's never changes.
So, that's nice. So, thank you for having us. And if you'd like to know more about Jack Daniel's, then please visit our website, Whisky.com. For all the Germans, it's Whiskey.de. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up or share it on Facebook or any other site. Thank you for watching.